That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Alright guys, I'm going to be completely honest, really did not want to make this video just because tight end videos always do horrible because nobody wants to hear about them. Regardless, I got multiple comments asking me for late round tight end targets, so here we are, we're going to talk about them anyway. And yeah, thank y'all so much for all the likes, all the comments y'all been leaving the channel as of late. We've been getting so many subscribers every single day, and while I love people joining the flock, I want to make sure that everybody understands. Guys, if you have subscribed to this channel, please understand this is going to be a Dynasty fantasy football channel only. If you are looking for general fantasy football advice for your redraft leagues, please unsubscribe to this channel. I mean, this channel is not going to be for you. This is going to be Dynasty and Keeper info exclusively. All right, well, that's it. Now let's get into this video and let's talk about 5 tight ends that I think are worth targeting later on in your fantasy drafts. And let's start it off with someone that I was aggressively targeting coming into the 2020 football season, and this is going to be Irv Smith. Okay, so with Irv Smith Jr., we all know, I mean, he's been mainly a disappointment so far through his NFL career. I thought that he had an intriguing profile coming out of Alabama in the 2019 NFL draft class. And what was most intriguing, in my opinion, is not only the fact that the Minnesota Vikings decided to go spend a second-round pick on him, not only the fact that he really did not profile to be someone as a great inline blocker, so we thought he would be used a little bit more in the receiving game, but on top of that, we know that he was one of the youngest tight ends ever coming into the NFL. I mean, he truly looks like he is in the same range of a David Njoku, of a Rob Gronkowski, of a player like Aaron Hernandez. I know those last 2 examples really we don't want to bring up, but here with Irv Smith, you rarely ever see a tight end coming into the NFL at such a young age. And I expected that he was going to be able to make that breakout in 2020 because obviously we weren't expecting Irv Smith as a 20-year-old tight end in 2019 to really do anything for this Minnesota Vikings offense. And in my opinion, he was very impressive in 2020. He continued to demonstrate that ability that we were chasing in the 2019 rookie drafts. And here, going into 2021, if we look at the contract situation for Kyle Rudolph, now yes, he did receive a contract extension this past offseason, but really, there is no dead money after this year. They restructured his contract really as a 1-year deal where they're planning on cutting him going into 2021 unless he came out and made a significant impact for this Minnesota Vikings offense. Now that did not happen, and Irv Smith looked like he is the better tight end in that situation. So given the fact that Irv Smith is going to be 23 next season, given the fact that Irv Smith has a significant amount of team investment into him, I think that we just have to look at his overall profile as someone that can continue to rise in Dynasty Fantasy Football, and I'd be surprised if he does not break out in 2021. Alright, so now our next tight end, I'm going to be completely honest. I really had no intention on drafting him in 2020, but he's impressed me so far. This is going to be Kmet. Okay, so with Kmet, I know you really have not been able to start him. He's had 1 decent week where some people took advantage in DFS. But outside of that, he's been mainly a no-show in his rookie season. But guys, the tight end position is by far and away the hardest position to learn at the NFL level. I would argue that it's harder to develop at the tight end position than the quarterback position because at least with quarterbacks, we'll sometimes see them come in and in their rookie season make a significant impact. I mean, look at a Tua, look at a Burrow, look at a Justin Herbert, all from this 2020 draft class. But here at the tight end position, I mean, you have to continue developing your physical traits. You have to continue to grow. And at the same time, you have to continue to be a little quicker. You have to continue to make sure that you have that speed. And you have to learn how to be an offensive lineman as well as pretty much a wide receiver running from in line. I mean, there is so much that goes into developing your game as a tight end that we are not expecting really any production from your first 2 seasons. And that's why I recommend avoiding tight ends in fantasy drafts and coming into their rookie year. But after that, that is when you go and target them. And with Kmet, it looks like he's been a more efficient player already than Jimmy Graham in his rookie season. I'd be very surprised if the Chicago Bears decide to bring Jimmy Graham back into this offense in 2021. Kmet checks the draft capital box as he was a 2nd round draft pick this season. And on top of that, we know that he was the first tight end drafted in the 2020 draft class. So yeah, Kmet looks like he is currently going to be on a trajectory where he's going to be an impact player for the Chicago Bears in 2021. Okay, so now our next tight end, someone that has had one of the most disappointing tight end careers up to date, in my opinion, David Njoku. Okay, guys, let me take y'all back. Let me take y'all back to the 2017 NFL draft class with David Njoku, who looked like a true athletic freak. I mean, we had rarely seen any player from any position have the same size-adjusted athletic profile as a David Njoku. I mean, out of Miami, he also had a ridiculous yards after the catch ability. Then he was selected in the first round by Sashi Brown in this Cleveland Browns front office. And then we've seen this front office change multiple times, as well as multiple quarterback changes for Cleveland since David Njoku has been there. And I really think that has limited him from getting on the same page as the Cleveland Browns organization, because there was a completely different coaching staff where when he was drafted, there was a completely different front office. So the current coaching staff for Cleveland has no investment into David Njoku, whereas they have that investment into Harrison Bryant as well as Austin Hooper. So really, they have no incentive to get David Njoku on the field. But I stand by the fact that if you look at his rookie season or age-adjusted production, David Njoku was on pace to be one of the best tight ends of all time. I mean, if you look at what he was able to do at 21 years old, the only other tight ends that you could point to in an NFL history that have been able to do the same thing were possibly Rob Gronkowski, possibly an Aaron Hernandez. I mean, ridiculous, the age-adjusted production we saw from David Njoku, ridiculous athletic profile. I think going into 2021, if he changes offense, he could be on a very similar trajectory of an Eric Ebron, who's finally realizing his true value in Pittsburgh right now. I think that we can see the same thing with David Njoku, so please don't give up if you have him. And if you're going into a Dynasty startup, I'd advise targeting him at the very end of your draft. Okay. So now our next tight end, I'm going to speak very briefly on him, very similar to David Njoku, O.J. Howard. In that same 2017 NFL draft, I mean, O.J. Howard was viewed as a complete tight end prospect. I mean, he looked like he was the best tight end prospect since Eric Ebron. Everybody was on board. Nobody had any question marks around him, as he was one of the best blocking tight ends in the entire draft, as well as a fantastic receiving option coming out of Alabama. Yes, he's been a major disappointment so far at the NFL level. Yes, he's coming off a very serious injury in 2020. But I think going into 2021, if he finds himself on a new team, if he's able to find himself back from that injury, we could see O.J. Howard being someone that resurrects his career from the dead. And obviously, you're not really going to have to spend much draft capital at all to get O.J. Howard on your Dynasty roster. I would advise using him as one of your last picks. All right, so now our next tight end, someone that I had no interest in this past season, and it looks like he's had a very impressive season so far, Harrison Bryant. Okay, so with Harrison Bryant, I know that he is parked behind Austin Hooper for 2021. Really, he has no upside to go out there and be that starting tight end for the Cleveland Browns unless we see an Austin Hooper injury, as Austin Hooper has a significant amount of guaranteed money this upcoming season. But with Harrison Bryant, when Austin Hooper went down, we actually saw him be the guy over David Njoku, who I stand by as being a very talented tight end who came into this Cleveland Browns offense. And Harrison Bryant, as a rookie, was able to provide us very decent numbers in a few games. That's something you rarely get to see. This was a tight end that was known to be a decent receiver coming out of college. I know he does not necessarily have the draft pedigree, but he has the athletic profile, he has the size, he has the receiving capability, and we know that this offense wants to run a little bit more 12 personnel. Austin Hooper has been mainly disappointing so far in 2020, so I think that Harrison Bryant could be an intriguing option to look at, even though I did not like him in rookie drafts this past year. Okay. Now, speaking about one other tight end that I did not like in rookie drafts this past year, but now I think could be intriguing to look at the very end of your Dynasty draft, this is going to be an Albert O. Okay, I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name here. Y'all know who I'm talking about, though. Albert O, coming out of Mizzou. The story about Albert O is size-adjusted athleticism. Nobody is going to make the argument of him being a great blocker. Nobody is going to make the argument of him being a complete player. But it really does not matter, as he is playing behind Noah Fant. He's playing in an offense that really does not call for his production right away. But I think that he is someone who's flashed enough so far in his rookie season to be looked at as someone with a ton of upside. If we see something change in front of him, based on the fact that he is an absurd athlete, based on the fact that we also know that Albert O is incredibly efficient in terms of his yards per target. So here with Albert O, someone that I'm going to be intrigued in looking at the end of the drafts. And also, real quick, let me just fire off some extra guys for you to keep your eye on. One is going to be a Josh Oliver. Two is going to be a Kahale Waring. If you don't know who Josh Oliver is, he is currently a tight end for Jacksonville, selected in the 2019 NFL draft class, I believe in the 3rd round. Kahale Waring, also from that 2019 NFL draft class, I believe also from the 3rd round there for the Houston Texans. So yeah, those are also 2 extra names y'all could be looking at. But regardless, thank y'all all so much for sticking around with me for this video. But regardless, thank y'all all so much for hanging out with me in this video. I hope I'll see y'all in the next one, which should come out tomorrow. And yeah, go down to that comment section and let me know what y'all want for that next video.